So I just thought I'd jump in right now, since I have my youngest here kind of asleep. And she, I don't know if you can see, but she does actually have a dummy in, and she's my first dummy wearing baby. And the process to me getting there has been really interesting, facing my own natural parenting beliefs and long-held viewpoints on the dummy, which you'll hear a little bit about in this week's podcast on understanding tears and how to really get the transformation for yourself and your child through the process of holding space for tears. But it really did bring up this whole dummy thing, the pacifier. So I thought I'd just jump on quickly and just do a quick little thought process on what that actually was for me, because it's been a really big journey. And if you're anything like me and you're in this tribe, you probably have come from a natural parenting background where dummies and pacifiers are in general not okay. They're not the thing you do because they're a way of essentially stifling feelings. They're a way of plugging up, of stopping a tantrum, of stopping tears, and I totally get that. I completely understand those viewpoints. I 100% was there with my first three, and so I'd never actually given myself the opportunity to see what it was like to really use dummies in a way that I think you can use them to your benefit and without actually emotionally needing to make those changes. So in this week's podcast, we talk about tears. Tears as a release mechanism. Tears as a way of releasing what's stored in a little person's body to be able to come back into a harmonious state, which is their natural state of being, natural cooperation. You know, that angelic like soul that floats around your house sometimes that you just pinch yourself if even exists. That's kind of their natural state. So when they're sitting outside of that, they've actually got some stored feelings like the pressure cooker that I'd written about in one of our blogs or emails, I can't remember which, and they just need the straw that breaks the camel's back, and out comes this flood of tears, and while they're there, they might as well release all of the stored stuff, get rid of all the steam that's in that pressure cooker, because they don't have our ability to just go, oh, you know, I need a really good cry, and can you just hold me while I do that? So they wait for the impetus in which to actually release that. So the issue with pacifiers is that if we constantly use them to stop tears, and we look at tears as, well, one, we're uncomfortable with them and we need them to stop, or two, that they mean pain and therefore we need our child to be soothed in order to be okay, then we've lost, one, the resource to actually hold the space for that release, two, their ability to come back into balance and natural cooperation state, and three, just the ability for them to actually learn emotions and be able to process them and move through them. However, here's the beauty with the dummy, okay? It does actually work, here we go, really well at getting kids to sleep, getting babies to sleep, helping them really process sore tummies. If you've got a child who really is attached to the breast, who wants to keep suckling, who wants to, you know, feed to sleep all of the time, who has a sore tummy and doesn't want to leave your side, the dummy actually is an amazing way to create, one, the space in which they can continue to use that sucking reflex and self-soothing capacity, two, sometimes just to give you a break, and three, that it actually really does work. And part of me kind of hates saying that, but I didn't use it with my first, and he was a thumb sucker, and I'm just not convinced that that is in any way better. So the theory behind that is if they need to self-soothe, they will, and therefore they have the capacity to choose autonomously when they do or don't self-soothe. We're not the ones making that choice for them. The issue with the thumb is that it's always around. So what was happening with him was that, yes, it was a coping mechanism. Yes, it was a control pattern. And anytime he felt overwhelmed, if he was at kinder, if I wasn't there, if he was with someone, the thumb would go. Now, in a way, I see the benefits to that, because when I'm not around and I wasn't able to hold that space for him, he had a way to do that on his own. But what it also meant was that was happening at home too. So he actually was never allowing himself the space to release. He's still a child who struggles to really find the space to comfortably and safely release. And we went through a pretty big process of breaking that addiction to the control pattern of thumb sucking. Whereas a dummy, what I've kind of noticed, I haven't done it yet, but what I've noticed is that you can actually do some, you know, it's much easier to remove than what a thumb is. So The beauty of a dummy is that you can use it as a sleep cue, which means it's interchangeable wherever you are. It means that people that are not just you have the capacity to put your child to sleep, which also gives you freedom. And it also gives them a sense of safety and control and ability to actually do this gig when you're not around, which also has loads of benefits. What we don't want to do is use the pacifier every single time there's tears and every single time we're out. But as a control pattern, you can use them to your advantage. There is advantages in control patterns, as much as we don't want to hear that in aware parenting circles. There's advantages to them. They do help us. We all have them. They do help us get through. They do help us have an emotional sense of resilience and self. And we can use them with our children. So I just wanted you to know that a control pattern is okay, and often when we eliminate one, another one drops in anyhow. And dummies and pacifiers can give you a break. So we can use them when we don't have enough presence, when we're using them as a sleep cue, and we can also hold the space. It doesn't have to be black or white, one or the other. We can actually do both. So I hope you give yourself the permission to perhaps give it a go, even if it's not this time round, maybe next time round. Maybe just release the judgments you hold a little bit and have compassion for those moments when women are using them. Probably they themselves don't have the space to actually hold it for tears, and that's okay. They can find that within themselves later. You never lose a chance to heal. And that maybe there's something to it, as long as they're used in this way, that you can do both. And that's the space in between that I find myself in with my number 4, and that I'll be blogging a lot about. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you soon.